these videos and just be a part of this channel as a whole. I do not take you all for granted. I'm extremely grateful. And just as the number of subscribers that we continue to have continues to go up, it's surprising every time, and I'm thankful. So, that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into it. We're starting here again in chapter 20, Laborers in the Vineyard. For the kingdom of heaven is like a master of a house who went out early in the morning to hire laborers for his vineyard. After agreeing with the laborers for a denarius a day, he sent them into his vineyard. And going out about the third hour, he saw others standing idle in the marketplace. And to them he said, "You go into the vineyard too, and whatever is right I will give you." So they went. Going out again about the 6th hour and the 9th hour, he did the same. And about the 11th hour he went out and found others standing. And he said to them, "Why do you stand here idle all day?" They said to him, "Because no one has hired us." He said to them, "You go into the vineyard too." And when evening came, the owner of the vineyard said to his foreman, "Call the laborers and pay them their wages, beginning with the last up to the first." And when those hired about the 11th hour came, each of them received a denarius. Now when those hired first came, they also thought they would receive more, but each of them also received a denarius. And on receiving it, they grumbled at the master of the house, saying, "These last worked only 1 hour, and you made them equal to us who have borne the burden of the day and the scorching heat." But he replied to one of them, "Friend, I am doing you no wrong. Did you not agree with me for a denarius? Take what belongs to you and go. I choose to give this last worker as I gave to you. Am I not allowed to do what I choose with what belongs to me? Or do you begrudge my generosity? So the last will be first, and the first last." Jesus foretells his death a third time. And as Jesus was going up to Jerusalem, he took the 12 disciples aside, and on the way he said to them, "See, we are going up to Jerusalem, and the Son of Man will be delivered over to the chief priests and scribes, and they will condemn him to death and deliver him over to the Gentiles to be mocked and flogged and crucified, and he will be raised on the third day." A mother's request. Then the mother of the sons of Zebedee came up to him with her sons. Kneeling before him, she asked him for something, and he said to her, "What do you want?" She said to him, "Say that these 2 sons of mine are to sit at your right hand and one at your left in your kingdom." Jesus answered, "You do not know what you're asking. Are you able to drink of the cup that I am to drink?" They said to him, "We are able." Now, a real quick note about this, if anyone's not familiar with the idea of sitting to the right and the left, they're asking for positions of power in Jesus' kingdom, because you've heard the expression right-hand man. That's where this comes from, someone who sits to his right. But then also there's a position of power for the person to the left, basically asking to be number 1 and number 2 in the kingdom. Alright, picking back up. He said to them, "You will drink my cup, but to sit at my right hand and my left is not mine to grant, but it is for those for whom it had been prepared by my Father." And when the 10 heard it, the other 10, because again these are 2, when the 10 heard it, they were indignant at the 2 brothers. But Jesus called them to him and said, "You know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord over them, and their great ones exercise authority over them. It shall not be so among you, but whoever would be among you must be your servant. Whoever would be great among you must be your servant. And whoever would be first among you must be your slave, even as the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many." Jesus heals 2 blind men. And as they went out of Jericho, a great crowd followed him. And behold, there were 2 blind men sitting by the roadside. And when they heard that Jesus was passing by, they cried out, "Lord, have mercy on us, Son of David." The crowd rebuked them, telling them to be quiet, but they cried out all the more, "Lord, have mercy on us, Son of David." And stopping, Jesus called to them and said, "What do you want me to do for you?" They said to him, "Lord, let our eyes be opened." And Jesus in pity touched their eyes, and immediately they recovered their sight and followed him. anyone says anything to you, you shall say, the Lord needs them, and he will send them at once. This took place to fulfill what was spoken by the prophet, saying, Say to the daughter of Zion, Behold, your king is coming to you, humble, and mounted on a donkey, on a colt, the foal of a beast of burden. The disciples went and did as Jesus directed them. They brought the donkey and the colt and put on them their cloaks, and he sat on them. Most of the crowd spread out their cloaks on the road, and the others cut branches from the trees and spread them on the road. Now, some of you may recognize the traditional term Palm Sunday. When it's saying that it cut branches, it was palm branches that were laid out on the road, kind of like this was the ancient Middle East's version of a red carpet. So they put out these palm fronds as a carpet to walk out on. And the crowds that went before him and that followed him were shouting, Hosanna to the Son of David. Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. Hosanna in the highest. And when he entered Jerusalem, the whole city was stirred up, saying, Who is this? And the crowd said, This is the prophet Jesus from Nazareth of Galilee. And Jesus entered the temple and drove out all who sold and bought in the temple, and he overturned the tables of the money changers and the seats of those who sold pigeons. And this is basically people who were selling things for religious, sacramental purposes in a place that they should not have been. So that's what they're talking about with who sold pigeons. It was for religious sacrifice, Jewish sacrifice. He said to them, It is written, My house shall be called a house of prayer, but you have made it a den of robbers. So they're ripping him off. And the blind and the lame came to him in the temple, and he healed them. But when the chief priests and the scribes saw the wonderful things that he did, and the children crying out in the temple, Hosanna to the Son of David, they were indignant. And they said to him, Do you hear what these are saying? And Jesus said to them, Yes, if you've never heard, out of the mouth of infants and nursing babies, you have prepared praise. And leaving them, he went out of the city to Bethany and lodged there. Jesus curses the fig tree. In the morning, as he was returning to the city, he became hungry, and seeing a fig tree by the wayside, he went to it and found nothing on it but leaves. And he said to it, May no fruit come from you ever again. And the fig withered at once. When the disciples saw it, they marveled, saying, How does the fig tree wither at once? And Jesus answered them, Truly I say to you, if you have faith and do not doubt, you will not only do what has been done to the fig tree, but even if you say to this mountain, Be taken up and thrown into the sea, it will happen. And whatever you ask in prayer, you will receive, if you have faith. The authority that Jesus challenged. And actually, real quick, I'll mention this here. Some of these things that are taking place, they've given us this little photo. It says the Kidron Valley between the Temple Mount and the Mount of Olives. So this is kind of the area in the countryside that the disciples would have been moving through. And when Jesus entered the temple, the chief priests and the elders of the people came out to him as he was teaching and said, By what authority are you doing these things, and who gave you the authority? Jesus answered them, I will also ask you one question, and if you tell me the answer, then I will tell you by whose authority I do these things. The baptism of John, from where did it come? From heaven or from man? And it's talking about John the Baptist. And they discussed it among themselves, saying, If we say from heaven, he will say to us, Why then did you not believe him? But if we say from man, we are afraid of the crowd, for they all hold that John was a prophet. So they answered Jesus, We do not know. And he said to them, Neither will I tell you by what authority I do these things. The parable of the two sons. What do you think? A man had two sons, and he went to the first and said, Go and work in the vineyard today. And he answered, I will not. But afterward he changed his mind and went. And to the other son he said the same. And he answered, I will go, sir. But he did not go. Which of the two did the will of his father? They said, The first. Jesus said to them, Truly I say to you, the tax collectors and prostitutes go into the kingdom of God before you. For John came to you in the way of righteousness, and you did not believe him. But tax collectors and the prostitutes believed him. And when you saw it, you did not afterward change your mind. This is Jerusalem at the time of Jesus. By the time of Jesus, Jerusalem had grown from a modest military fortress to a world-class city with newly renovated temple that rivaled nearly any in the ancient world. Public pools were fed by the Gihon Spring and by 2 aqueducts that brought water to the city from as far as 7 miles or 11 kilometers away. The towns of Bethpage and Bethany were located on the eastern slope of the Mount of Olives, which lay to the east of Jerusalem. So Bethpage is believed to have been over here, and then Bethany further over here somewhere. But as for what it's showing us here, here's look like a fortress wall built by Herod Agrippa out here, and then this says the pools of Bethesda. So a miracle took place, a healing of a lame man. The pool of Israel, the Antonia fortress, Golgotha is believed to be the traditional location. So this is where the crucifixion is believed to have taken place. Here's the palace of Herod the Great, the palace of the high priest potentially. Here are the aqueducts bringing the waters into the tower's pool. Here is the serpent's pool is what that's called, and then the pool of Siloam. So just kind of giving us an idea of what's going on here. And here's a map to scale 500 meters here, or 2,000 feet, just to show the overall space. Parable of the tenants. Here another parable. There was a master of a house who planted a vineyard and put a fence around it and dug a wine press in it and built a tower and leased it to tenants and went into another country. When the season for fruit drew near, he sent his servant to the tenants to get his fruit. And the tenants took his servants and beat one, killed another, and stoned another. And he sent other servants, more than the first, and they did the same to them. Finally he sent his son to them, saying, "They will respect my son." But when the tenants saw the son, they said to themselves, "This is the heir. Come, let us kill him and take his inheritance." And they took him and threw him out of the vineyard and killed him. When therefore the owner of the vineyard comes, what will he do to these tenants? They said to him, "He will put those wretches to a miserable death and let out the vineyard to other tenants who will give him the fruits of their seasons." Jesus said to them, "Have you never read in the scriptures, the stone that the builders rejected has become the cornerstone? This was the Lord's doing, and it is marvelous in our eyes. Therefore I tell you, the kingdom of God will be taken away from you and given to a people producing its fruits. And the one who falls on this stone shall be broken to pieces, and when it falls on anyone, it will crush him." When the chief priests and Pharisees heard his parables, they perceived that he was speaking about them. And although they were seeking to arrest him, they feared the crowds because they held him to be a prophet. Obviously, they have not yet been emboldened enough to carry out the crucifixion that will later take place. I think we'll go ahead and draw this video to a close now. I try and keep it to about 2 chapters at a time so that these videos don't get too drawn out. If you all want me to read more chapters at once, if you feel like that would be something you would want to see, please let me know. Again though, reiterating the sentiment to start the video, thank you for watching. I'm so glad you're here. Hope you've enjoyed. Hope you find it relaxing. And we will see you next time. Have a great rest of your day.